a lot. Put it like that.
Yeah.
Hey everyone. Listen, myself and Emma Lyons, we were just here having a conversation, really on the back channel about receiving. And so welcome to the live. I'm Allegra Jackson, the Marketing Medulla. I am the founder of Women into Networking Win Community. I am also a business coach and marketing strategist and business analyst. I'd love to support women mainly, to make sure you have that foundational platform for your business growth, and have the guidance and the steps to be sustainable along the way. Now Emma does a little bit different, and I was talking to Emma about some things that I feel like, before you can even get to the process of building your business and getting involved in that, what do I need to do, give me the steps, you got to be really willing to take action. That, I think, kind of falls in line with what you do, Emma, because the question I asked you before we got in the live was, what do we think about when we ask ourselves, how do we receive? And sometimes we ask ourselves that question, because when you come to business, we go, oh, why don't we make the money? Or why aren't we getting the support and the help? And a lot of times we find that it's always there. But I think with what you do is really where we have the block, not the brokenness. So go ahead, Emma, tell them what you do, and let's get into what we were talking about, because this was good.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Allegra. Just to introduce myself, if people don't know me, my name is Emma Lyons, and like it says there, I help people really catalyze their wealth by breaking through their inner blocks around making the money that they want. And it's so true. I really believe what I've found in my own experience, because I was my own first client, really. You can be the best person at what you do. You can do all the marketing things. You can do all the sales things. But if you have this resistance to feeling like you're not worthy, or, if you have this constantly feeling of trying really hard and not getting anywhere and feeling overwhelmed, it's very likely that you have some kind of inner blocks that may be sabotaging your success. And we're going to talk about that today, because this is actually a really good thing, because it means that it's in your power to change it. You don't need to go looking for something outside there to fix it. I did that for years, so you don't have to. Looking for the magic pill that's going to fix it on the outside, when really the problem or the challenge that we have, it's about feeling like we're worthy for success, for receiving. And that's the last place I look, to be honest. And I see so many women, and it's the last place they look. They look, I'll do this course, I'll do that course, I'll learn about sales, I'll learn about marketing, I'll sign with Allegra and all of that. And I've noticed that all that stuff, no matter how great, it often doesn't work. It doesn't, things just don't quite connect if you're missing this inner piece. And I think, Allegra, you've had clients who are in that same position, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, that's been big. And, this is why I work with individuals like Emma. And then if you know Ariana, who's the co-founder of W.I.N, we work together because there are stuck places where people are, and they just like, give me the solution. Like, what do I need to do? Because when you're in overwhelm, like you were saying the last time, Emma, you don't really, you just feel stuck. Sometimes completely burned out. Like you're just like, I
Mhm.
don't. I remember, and I told y'all about the time that I was burned out. I was working on several different social media accounts all at once. I was booming. Business was booming. I was making lots of money. No worries, right? But then it was so much work, and I didn't have the help and support I needed, and so I hit burnout. When I hit burnout, I realized in that moment that burnout is real. It is not something that you can just pick yourself up and just say, hey, I'm just going to do it today. No, burnout will shut you down. You will not have the strength, the mental power, the willpower. You just won't have it. And I want to just, kind of go with what we were saying before we got straight into the live, which I was talking to Emma. Shout out to those of y'all who are listening right now. Give us a heart. As like saying to Emma, I'm just like, how do we receive? Um, I had mentioned some situations that I was experiencing in my personal life and things that I've seen in the past. And and things around me. And I said, it's really interesting that as women, and you said it too, Emma, we have a problem with asking for help.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that to someone this past week, and I also asked them, like, how do you receive? And she really had some eye-opening statements about how she just really noticed that over time, that was just her control mechanism. Like,
Yeah.
there are really good things inside of us that we, you know, have. Like, some people may say, oh, you're too controlling, but they're only saying it because you're controlling in the wrong areas. Because being in control of things and having the leadership power and ability, that's a good thing if you use it in the right way. But she was talking about finding out that those things in her life, that it was like it created these walls, that didn't allow her to receive the help she needed, because she had things like expectations. And that was big, because I thought about that. I said, whoa, because that falls in line with like that perfectionism and all those things that we talk about, right? Because you really do think that people are supposed to be like you. Like, you think that like, okay, well, I expect you to do this because because that's your mom, or I expect you to do that because you're educated. And there are things that people can do that they just don't want to do. And so you have to kind of realize, that expectations can lead you down a path of really lacking that opportunity to receive from the right people. Because what I heard from this person, okay, and she said something really unique and different. She said she had expectations of individuals, and so when she needed help, she would ask those people for help because she expected them to help her, right? Like family, friends, whatever. Like, I expect you to help me. But she said, but once she started to direct her vision and her thought process into, well, who don't I expect to help me? Because where did that expectation come from in the beginning, right? Like, who said that they were supposed to help you in the first place? So she was saying, like, well, I started to think about it, like, who don't I expect to help me? And she was like, well, there are people in my life that always tell me that they want to help me, but I don't expect them to, so I don't really like open the doors for them to help me. And I was like, that's interesting. And she says, so she did a practice where she actually tried it out. And she said she went to people she did not expect to help her at all, like that she
Yeah.
didn't have any expectations for. And she said, lo and behold, they said yes. And the things that she was struggling with to get done, it all got done. And that willingness to receive, that way that she received was just totally different than what she ever thought that she
Yeah.
would be able to receive. So what are your thoughts on that? That was really interesting to me. I was cracking up.
That's such a great point because we have really fixed ideas about how things are going to come to us. It's going to come in this box and it's going to look like that and it's going to be X amount of dollars and it's going to be, and that's part of the control mechanism that we have. And because we're so focused there, we completely shut the door to other ways that something like that could come in. We're so focused on it looking this way, and if it doesn't look like that, we're just like, ignore it next. So this is how we miss opportunities. Opportunities come in all different kind of guises, and they look different. They don't always look like the way we expect, and that's a huge thing. I know for me, when I was starting out, or even after I started out, expectations was huge part of how I sabotaged myself because my expectations were up there, and when I failed to meet those high expectations, I felt disappointed, devastated, and that meant that I couldn't really continue because my vibration kind of went down. I was like, what's wrong with me? Rather than focusing on the opportunities that were there, I was focused on the opportunities that I had lost. And you're really fixated. I think a lot of people, we really fixate on what success needs to look like, and it must come in this exact amount, in this exact shape. And when we do that, we are actually shutting loads of doors of other ways and maybe collaborations, and maybe, who knows, you might have an exchange with someone that might lead to something. Who knows? But we're so focused on it coming from this way, from this particular form of marketing, without being open to all the other millions of ways that our ideal people could find us. So I think that's a huge thing. And then we get disappointed and frustrated, and that leads us to burning out, you know? And I love the way that you talked about burnout, because burnout can happen at any stage in your business. It can start when you can burn yourself out when you're starting your business and trying to make it work, you know, really like this pushing, oh, I have to make it work. You've got that kind of energy going on. That can really be draining, and that can really burn you out. And also, if you're highly successful and trying to keep a million balls in the air at the same time, and you're not asking for help and you're trying to be superwoman, that will burn you out very, very quickly. And I think a lot of women fall into those traps because we feel like we have to do everything ourselves. And also another big thing that you did mention as well, Allegra, I think a large part of that comes back to trying to be in control. And that was my thing as well. You know, I wanted to be in control and make it happen this way. And I wasn't open to all the other ways things could have happened and fallen into place for me, because I was so fixated on it looking a certain way. And I think I see that in a lot of people that come to me, or that are experiencing this gap between where they are and where they know they can be possibly. And it's really, what I've noticed is that it's really not so much about the activities that you do and what kind of marketing strategies you're using, but it's more about the energy that you bring to those things. So the energy that you show up and talk about what you do, that magnetizes the right people to come and see you, not just in social media world, but also in real life when we're walking around and talking to people that are very possibly looking for exactly what you're doing. But if you are not talking about that, if you're not open to potentially coming in that shape or form, you're closing that door before that possibility can even kind of birth itself. So this is a really important topic, especially for women. We've got to be open, and we've got to surrender, because you know, receiving, we can't receive if we're like this. If we're like this, our fist is closed and we're trying to make it happen and we've got to force it, and you know, that's not receiving mode. Receiving mode is, you know, the open hand. We're surrendering. We're moving forward. We're taking those actions, but we're open to possibilities of what can happen here, and the million possibilities of what that could lead to. And that's also a much more fun way to live, because some different things can happen, strange things can happen, wonderful things can happen. And if we're constantly trying to be in control, we limit that. We limit those miracles coming into our life, because we're so fixated on certain things and what they must look like in order for us to open ourselves up and receive it. And I want to say one more thing before I pass it back to you, Allegra. It's just popped into my head here. This also affects, I think, a lot of women when it comes to love. Like, we think that a man or partner needs to come in that particular box and needs to look that way, or needs to be black, or needs to be tall, or needs to be white, or whatever it is. He's going to look that way. He's going to be 6 foot, whatever. And that cuts all the other possibilities of what can happen. So we say this every week, Allegra, but this isn't what we're talking about here. It's not about money. It's about so much more than that, because money is a representation of how we receive and how worthy we feel of receiving all that's there for us. And I really feel that's where so many women really struggle with this, because it does come down to feeling worthy and also trusting life and trusting ourselves that the right possibility, the right person, our situation will come along at the right time. We're so busy trying to control and make it happen and look a certain way.
Emma, oh, I love doing these with you because it's just and I say this all the time that you know, there has to be a certain mindset that comes along with having a business. Business is not for everyone. And that's why I specialize in certain areas for people who are already in that mindset. If you're just really in a space where you're like, I'm not open to receiving love the way that I should, and you know this, like we know deep down inside when we are not open to things. And whether we want to admit it out loud or not, we know that there's like silent knowing. And when you said that, and this is one thing I want to say, this is why I feel like it's on alignment with what we're talking about, even when it comes to business, because your business is also about relationships. Like, if
Oh,
whether
yeah.
people believe that or not, having a business is about relationships. And so if you don't have great relationships, then you'll find that it will magnify in your business. And when you think about building relationships, that's why we do that 2 p.m. room every Wednesday, because we want to teach people how to build like really effective relationships with people, that are meaningful relationships, rather, because at the end of the day, people that are wealthy, and when we talk about all this money and all this stuff that we want, that doesn't come because they just know how to make $1 million out of nowhere. Like, a lot of times they're trying and failing, and they're failing and succeeding, and they're going through their journey, but they have a lot of support along the way because of the relationships that they have with people. Whether it's family, friends, or people, mentors, whoever. So and that's why we like to be in the epsilon of the circles, right? Like, we like to be around a lot of wealthy people, a lot of people that have the resources, because when you have that space of learning and support, you can kind of like build those relationships and get that help and the support you need. But one thing you said about how this reflects on us as women and how we have relationships with other people, our partners, I think that is one of the most powerful things to think about, because this is where I feel like a lot of us get stuck too. Because a lot of us don't even fulfill, if we're having a real conversation, a lot of us don't even fulfill our journeys because we sacrifice ourselves for our families, for like, oh yeah, I want him to live his dream. I want them to live their dream, and we do that. We do that with our children, our husbands, we do that with the people around us. And it's so interesting that because I put it on the screen, I say, how you give love is how you receive it. And that's starting with you, right? This is just how I feel. And I want Emma to comment on this, because this is her area of expertise. I just come from a business place where I've learned my lesson, and I've been whipped enough times that and I've been in spaces where I've had to get this type of coaching and this type of training and development, where you're not just doing it alone, y'all, that you have people that are walking you hand in hand and just telling you what to do. That's super, that feels really good. It's super supportive that you can have that resource. And I think that when we're talking about just having relationships, and I was talking about that in the business sense, but let's talk about it in the personal sense. Like, if what we do in our personal relationships reflect what we do in business, if we're having a hard time communicating, if we're having a hard time selecting the right partners, so that I feel like presents a lack of trust in ourselves, like, oh, we don't choose well. If we stay in relationships when we're not, appreciated or, validated, right? And so a lot of these things that we do as women, I feel like, we need to kind of evaluate that and look at what are we receiving from people, because that reflects what we're allowing ourselves to receive. And
Yeah.
and I'm going to say this, Emma, because I know we're going to go to the 45-minute hour, so I'm going to say this last, because I shared my story with y'all, where I got out of a relationship that I was in for a very long time, where I felt like I knew I was playing myself a little bit, that silent knowing. And still in all, I was very comfortable, very comfortable. Like, this is good for me right now. I like where I'm at. I don't want to challenge myself anymore, because the real truth is that the other side of what that was very scary. Like, who are you leveling up to be next, right? It's very scary, because that means that sometimes the people that you're with, the relationships that you're in, you just can't go with you. But, I had a little bit of a silent knowing. But what I realized in that relationship was that I didn't feel as though I was um really appreciating myself, right? Like, there were things that I would settle for, and I'd be like, this is not who I am. Or I would let like someone talk to me a certain way, and I'd be like, I didn't like the way that sounded, but you kind of just take it. And I think that once I got to a point of really realizing that I lost myself in that relationship, right? And that's what we do. We lose ourselves in relationships. what I was realizing was that I didn't allow myself to receive the love that I needed from me first. Because if that happened first, right, that means that I would have had better boundaries as to what someone else was giving me that was less than that. And I
Yeah.
think that that is such a huge lesson that I had to learn. And so I want to share that with people because, we're kind of just having an open-ended conversation here today because we had a lot of questions last time and people are really kind of figuring out their journey through what this means. Like, what does it mean to receive? And, I put how you give love is how you receive it because I realized that I remember that day where I had Emma, I remember the day I had a clear moment after, working through the process, getting the support, getting the help I needed. I was sitting in the middle of, like, I had a living room and dining room set. It's like a middle area. And I was staying in the middle of it and I stopped. And I was like, oh my God, I don't love myself. And I said it out loud. I said
Wow.
it out loud, y'all. I said it out loud. And I was like, I was so shocked at myself. Like, I was so shocked at myself because it feels like blinders come off. Like, it feels like you finally like realize something you felt the whole time, but you're like, whoa, like this is deep. And so that's why you need guidance and support. That's why I love what Emma does because it allows you to get rid of those blinders quicker. So you're not kind of stuck in that mess too long. But I will say that it really is truly about what Emma and what you said, the relationships first, because that first relationship with ourselves, when that
Yeah.
feels really good, I feel like no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you're going to be successful because you're going to always discover more about you and want to know more about you so that you can figure out what are the things that I need to do to get the things that I want. So that's what I
Yeah.
want to end it with that note. But what do you say to all that? Because that was a lot.
Wow, that was a lot, Allegra. I second everything that you said. And yeah, we get what we put up with, you know. You get what you put up with. We all do. And that's in relationships, that's in how much money you're making. You're putting up with it. And so much of that comes down to what you feel like you're worthy of. So it comes back to that old, so many times it comes back to that because we put up with it because deep down inside, like you said, we don't love ourselves. And a lot of people, I think in the Western world, we have this this is a huge problem, particularly amongst women, but amongst everyone. I think this is like the bottom of so many challenges that people have, not feeling worthy. And if you've got that going on in the background in your subconscious, you can do all the things, you can do all the affirmations, you can drink the best kombucha, you can do the kimchi or whatever, you can eat the best food, the best water, all that stuff. But if you've got this toxic kind of self-image, which is what it comes down to, if deep down inside you feel like you're not worthy or there's something wrong with you. That was my thing. I thought there's something wrong with me. I have to keep hiding. And that leads us to settle for less than what we really want. And that shows up in relationships. I don't know. Have you seen that show on the TV, Succession, Allegra? No. I'm just thinking of one of the characters in it. We settle for, say, a man that we know is not on our level, you know. And that's
Wait,
because it's
every woman in
easy.
the building that has settled for a man say I. Child, I done
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah, you know that man is not on your level, but it's easy. It's easy to keep him. You don't have to grow yourself. You don't have to become more because he's gonna accept you, and it's gonna be kind of all right, and you're not gonna be alone. And that is the definition of settling. And if you're not making the money that you want, or even if you're making the money that you do want, that's what you're settling on. And if you desire more, you've got to raise what you're willing to put up with. And that means raising the inner thermostat of what you feel that you're worthy of receiving. So it always comes back to this, what you're worthy of receiving, because so much money out there that you could be making. There are people out there, you know, those things come up on Instagram all the time. There are people out there who have a quarter of your knowledge and experience and education, and they're slaying it. They're making 10 times more money than you doing what you're doing, you know, and I think that's true for so many people. And if you want to raise yourself up, it's not about finding a new strategy or a new shiny object. It's about turning your vibe up. It's turning on your thermostat of what you're willing to put up with, because what you put up with, it's what you get. And that really puts it back to you. It puts it back to each one of us. So it's on you. If you want to raise your level, you've got to start saying no to certain things that you know aren't where you want to be, that aren't on your level. It doesn't mean they're worse than you. It just means maybe they're not a match right now. So, but we we've got to choose. That's what I want. That feels like the energy of what I want, so I'm going to go there. That doesn't feel like it's quite it. So that's a no. So we've got to become a bit more choosy about the people that we surround ourselves with, and also, you know, what we let into our life and what we put up with. We got to start saying no to certain things and saying yes to new things.
It's such an irritating truth.
Yeah, it is irritating. I get it. Yeah.
It's such an irritating truth. It's like, so I gotta get rid of, and let me tell you why. Because at that point, there are times in, you know, my journey where I realized that silent knowledge again, that
Mm,
someone's season was over. Like I just knew it. Like I was like, and here's what's so crazy is that we are really the ones that do that. Like, and I'm still working on that. Like nobody's perfect. I'm still working on
exactly. Yeah.
boundaries, like my emotional boundaries. Like there's so many different types of boundaries, y'all. there's like there's time boundaries, right? Um, and I just, you know, I just want to stay encouraged and encourage everyone else too, because this is a work in progress for us all. That's why, you know, we constantly have coaches and consultants and experts like Emma, who's just like, look, I'm going to work with you through this process when you feel overwhelmed and when you're struggling. I myself, I constantly get the support I need. I'm not ashamed to get help. And I think it's really important to realize too, because what you said before we get out of here, y'all, what Emma said last was so important about setting boundaries and having the right people in your life. I remember beforehand, right? Because I was a people pleaser, like kind of like the stories that we've told y'all. And because I was very like bad at a lot of things, like it was just, I just was very just ill prepared for a lot of stuff that I wanted, right? So I wasn't ready for it. But I was allowing the wrong people in my life, right? Like people that wanted to be there. I just let them be there. And it was nice for a while because it's nice to have cheerleaders and supporters, but really one thing my mother always says, and I love this about her, is that she always has like the best sayings. And she was like, you know, if they don't add or multiply, then they subtract, right? Or divide, which is probably even worse. So basically you have this situation where you have to look at the people in your life, and are you adding and they're multiplying your life? If they're not, why are they there? And I started to look at that. I started to look at like, well, my decisions were based off of things I was experiencing, you know, my desires, my passions, my some of my traumas were based off of the environments and the people I was around. So I had to change that in order to be the person that I needed to be. That's all I'm saying. And when you express that, Emma, about watching the people around us, that annoying truth, that irritating truth, it came up in that moment where I had like that transition, where I had the aha moment, where I stood in the living room and screamed out to myself, I don't love myself in disbelief. I had a truthful moment all in the same time that looked at my relationships. It looked at my decisions with money. It looked at the jobs that I had. It looked at the things that I desired in life. And I started to think, wait a minute. That's deeper than I thought. And it started to make me think really deep about Well, if I don't love myself like I thought I did, then how does that add up to what I have done in my life thus far? And some of the main things that came up, y'all, and I'll end with this because this is a very irritating truth, was
Huh.
that I was attracting people in my life that were basically trauma bonding with me. I wasn't like you know how we say connect with people who are where you want to be so you can level up and you can be in a place where they can help you and support you. And it wasn't until I realized that everyone in my life was someone that I was helping, but no one was helping me. That I was always the one with all the answers. I was always the one that everyone was like, me, 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 me. And it wasn't until I started to realize that that was part of just my people pleasing spirit. And so, y'all, listen, when you start to get that aha moment to realize that you love yourself and you start to realize that it does depend on you deciding on that part first to even move forward in life, because your relationships, the people you attract, the decisions you make are all bound off of that one thing. And when I realized that that was holding me back from every single success, y'all, sometimes when we say things like, I want to get to six figures, you can't even get there because you have so much going on in that space where you're attracting something else. And that's what I was doing. I was attracting a whole nother set of things, and that's what life was giving me. And so and I'm gonna tell y'all, once the script flipped, I immediately wrote a book in 3 days. um
Wow.
I started making new friends. I started getting to my old self again. Like it wasn't that, oh my God, I lost who I was. Like it was like, oh yeah, like I started being more creative. I started thinking about things like honeysuckle that I used to, dream about and experience when I was walking down the road when I was like 7 years old, right? I started having like very kid-like moments. And we
Hmm.
lose ourselves, right? Like we lose that when we get through relationships and people drain the heck out of us, we lose all of that. And so I just want us to get back to that, get back to a place where, you have a clear mindset and energy where you love yourself so much that you're open to receive whatever is available to you. And so when someone comes to you and they want to offer you, and this is what I see a lot, they want to offer you a lot of money or a lot of opportunity, that you're not backing down, backing away, not going after that business goal, not thinking big enough. I want you all to think big enough. And this is how you do it. So, Emma, do you have any final words so we can, jump out of here, and then we'll come back next week with some more powerful things. And we're still talking behind the scenes, y'all. So we'll have some good stuff for you soon so that you can get into a space with us privately and we can kind of coach you and really walk you through some, really effective measures, because this conversation is great for you. But some of you need to really work on both sides of that. Okay, what is blocking me in money? And then go ahead and make the sale. And we're going to support you in that area. But Emma, anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I would just say, stop playing small. Make that decision that you want to play full out in life and that you want to succeed. And really, it's about shining. And unfortunately, that takes courage because people around us aren't shining. They're not shining. They're hiding as well. So we tend to be like the people around us. We don't want to shine too brightly. We don't want to be too much for people. So we kind of dim the light and we kind of just stay hidden there. We don't want to become too successful. What are they going to say? What are they going to think? What am I going to lose if I get there? No, I won't be able to join those conversations. And really, I would say to that, that the best thing that you can do for all the people in your life and all the people who aren't in your life now and for the world is to shine your light, is to let yourself shine and express your gifts, because most people aren't doing that. And when you do that, you give all the people around you an idea of what's possible for them. And then they can choose that too. So This is the gift that you can give the world just by your presence, just by becoming that, just by shining a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be like all overnight. Just make a decision that you're going to shine 1% more today, and maybe do that thing that you've been putting off, or make that list and do one thing. Keep it small and manageable, and know that you're worthy of getting help. If you feel like you're dimming your light, you're not doing certain things, then get the support that you need. Reach out to me, reach out to Allegra. You're worthy of that support. And when you know that, you'll get that right back. That'll come right back to you. So that's what I think about this. And this has been such a great conversation. So I want to thank everyone who's listening in, and yeah, come join us and reach out and connect with us, because really what we've talked about, it's a really good start, but there's so much work to be done to really peel off those layers so that you can become all that's there hiding underneath, all the potential that's in you. It's your time for it to come out. It's your time to shine.
Yeah, stop playing small. I love that ending. Stop playing small, make the decision. And thank you, Emma, for always joining me. I don't take it for granted that I have these amazing experts, but taking these special measures to come on. And Emma, just what you do is so important, especially for us women. I'm not gonna lie, this is not easy work, y'all. Like, most, if you look at the way that the world works, most people do not want change. This is not
No.
a common thing that people just go grab like they do like toothpaste at the grocery store. Like, this is stuff that people, honestly, there's like four reasons really why people have to get what we offer. Because it hurts too bad, so you got to get it. I've had so many people call me and they're like, "Oh, later, I have to have a business plan." I'm like, "Why didn't you come to me like 6 months ago when I was talking to you?" Because the landlord's asking me for it, stuff like that, right? And so we only change in certain times where it really hurts, or we really have enough knowledge to do so. That's why we come on every week to give you guys knowledge and understanding, and making sure you have the access to us. And so make sure that you take whatever steps, whatever measures that you need to when it comes to your personal development, your business growth, right? Even if it comes to starting your business with an idea. I work with people on that as well, just finding out if it's feasible in the market. Will it even sell? And just making sure that you all have just so much here in the WIN community and far and wide, to really learn and grow from. So thank y'all for listening. We'll come back next week. Thank you again, Emma. And I'm going to go ahead and end the live, y'all. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Talk soon.